sports? Do you like beer? Do you love sports and beer? Then you're exactly where you need to be. This is the Huebs Views and Brews show on 1252 Sports Chicago. Cheers.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Huebs Views and Brews. Lots to get through today. All the sports is happening right now. So you got the NCAA tournament, you've got baseball and players signing everywhere. A couple of weeks before opening day, Sox and Cubs playing spring training. Nick Madrigal 0 for 2 in his first Cub appearance out in Arizona today. So we'll talk about all that with Mike in just a couple of minutes. Also, we got couple of really cool guys on. They wrote a book called The Twins, A Journey of a Lifetime. Two kids from Cicero, how they got to know all these players from Cicero who played for the Bears and the Blackhawks and then got involved with the Cubs and things like that. So we'll talk with them a little bit later on in the show. It is Huebs Views and Brews, so I always pour a drink. And today I'm pouring this in memory of David Schuster's mother. David just let us all know about a half hour, 40 minutes ago that his mother passed away earlier today, 95 years young. And David, I know David's been near her side for the last several days. He was out at Game On Thursday for the NCAA tournament and with Mike, and then he had to spend some time with his mother, and she passed away earlier today. So this one, a Hailstorm, a Southside Irish Red, and this is for David's ma. And we will be thinking about you, David. Oh, you can't get enough of the Irish beer. I'm not a big fan of green beer. I didn't have any Guinness, believe it or not, on St. Patrick's Day. Went out to dinner with Linda, and they didn't have Guinness. They didn't have a couple other things I was looking for. So you just had one beer. But, yeah, this Hailstorm, which is on the south side, Tinley Park, tap room and kitchen open Tuesday through Sunday. Live music on the weekends. Really, really good. Southside Irish Red. Very, very tasty. If you've drank Killian's Red or some things like that, this is a really good one made by the guys out there at Hailstorm. It is very, very good. I won't have any problem getting through this one. That's one thing. I'll have less problem getting through that than the Big Ten had getting through the NCAA first weekend. We bring in our guy FatMike as we were watching games all day on Friday, all day and night on Friday. I think you remember that, Mike.
Yes,
right?
Yes, we were. Yeah, no, I remember it. I remember that I went a little too hard. I remember I went a little too crazy. But all in all, it was a great weekend. We had a lot of fun hanging out with you and watching all the upsets, watching the Big Ten get their butts kicked all weekend. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we had a great time at Game On out at Homer Glen. Bronco and the guys, and a lot of my buddies came out there. Tom Kelly and Joe Davis and Dave Ross, a bunch of Tom's friends, and guys I usually see for the NCAA tournament final. I always see them once a year, usually at TK's house for the NCAA tournament final. And it was nice. They came on out and spent most of the day there. Had a great time watching games. I wasn't winning any bets, but a lot of good games for the first couple rounds of the tournament. Some big upsets. And I think probably the one game that we saw the other day, that North Carolina game, was probably one of the most vicious games I've ever seen played on a basketball court. I mean, it was unbelievable.
They were beating each other up really well. I mean, it was a fun game to watch, and it was good that the refs let them play a little bit, let those kids play, but it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. So Baylor's out. Baylor, a number one seed, is gone. So I'm looking forward to the other three number one seeds advance. Illinois is gone. They tied it at 40 yesterday, and you thought things were going to be good. And then all of a sudden, it just changed. They couldn't do anything in the last 15 minutes of that game.
When you go 2-19 from three, you're not going to win games. And they completely stopped driving the lane, and it was like, what are you doing? And then with Kofi, that's all he can. I've learned something about Kofi. Kofi can only dunk. He cannot shoot.
No.
I like him. He's a big presence there when he plays the center or the big power forward, whatever they use him as down there. But that's all he can do is dunk. That's his game. That's all he can do is dunk. He can't dish the ball. He can't go out to defend a 3-point from a big guy. He's just that guy. And that's great. He's the only person in the nation that averaged 20 and 10 in college basketball this year. The only person that did that. He's a great player, but he's very, very one-dimensional.
Even for people that watch a lot of college basketball, this tournament's great because you get to see players that you've not seen. I know Purdue's out there, and Purdue's playing very, very well. They're one of the two Big Ten teams still around. So is Michigan, which I thought Michigan was going to go out early. I really did. And they're surprising me a little bit. Wisconsin gone. Iowa State beats them. Iowa State was 2-22 last year.
Yeah,
and see, that's what happens with this transfer portal and bringing in players, and that's one of the reasons I stopped enjoying college basketball as much as I used to, because teams don't build as they used to. Now Wisconsin does for the most part. Wisconsin's a team. You come as a freshman, sophomore, you stick around, you're a junior, things like that. But a lot of the teams in the NCAA tournament, you take a snapshot of them now, you won't see these guys on the court next year.
Right, exactly. A lot of these guys, and that's the reason. This is the transfer portal. They can go anywhere. A team likes them, then you see that guy on Duke next year.
Yeah.
Or you see him, on UNC or somewhere else.
Yeah. Linda and I stopped at Nick and Ivy yesterday. After we drove past our house, we were coming home from a birthday party, and just in time to watch Duke knock off Michigan State. So Paul was very happy. That was a tough game.
I was hoping Michigan State was going to close that one out, but they just couldn't get there.
Yeah. It was interesting to watch for a while there. I thought it was going to be all over with for Krzyzewski. It's nice that they got John Shire right there, sitting there as the next guy to take over, sitting there ready for it. So I can't wait. It's wild because you got 4 straight days, nonstop, wall-to-wall college basketball, and then everybody takes a breath now for 3 days. Until Thursday and Friday, and then we started all over again.
I cannot start what I did last week over again.
No.
I'll be dead next weekend if I do that.
Well, the nice part is on Thursday and Friday they're pretty much just night games, so it's not going to be an all-day thing Thursday and Friday.
Right.
Yeah. Now that there's not nearly as many games, only 4 games. What is it? 4? Yeah.
There's not 4 and 4.
Yeah, 4 and 4. 4 Thursday, 4 Friday. So it's not nearly as bad as it had been in the past. So it'll be fun and be a lot of good stuff. We'll see how Villanova does. See if Michigan can keep going. You look at it, Villanova's an 11. It's hard to imagine the way they're playing as an 11 seed. Iowa State and Miami, an 11 and a 10. Both of them probably were a lot lower than they should have been.
I like Miami. That team's a very, very dangerous team. I mean, we saw it last night again, where they
ran it up on Auburn. Yeah,
I mean, they ran it up on Auburn. That wasn't even fair. I mean, that was just an ass whipping. But the thing is this, man. I had so much fun this weekend. And this is something that you told me over the weekend, that you didn't fill out a bracket.
No bracket.
What? Why?
No. Because when you're not working. Right. It's not as much fun. It's more fun when you're in a group and you're working with a bunch of guys and you have a bracket and you check and see where you are and everything else like that. So what I did was I picked some games. I picked on Thursday, the first day, I picked 3 winners. Boom, boom, boom. I said, this is no problem. Yesterday, I had a 6-team parlay. I lost the first game, the first and the 5th. So, the 6-team parlay doesn't help.
Well, that's how my bracket started off. I had, who the hell? Who was the first game? Loyola and who?
Oh, Ohio State.
Yeah. So I had that winner, but then the game that went final first, I forget what game it was, and I lost immediately. I was like, all right, so my bracket's busted. Yippee!
That's when you start. That's when you started drinking. So
excessively, the entire weekend. Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
I was telling our guests, your guests tonight, Tony and Carl Ruzicka. They were asking me how I did in my bracket. Of my bracket, though, as much as my bracket is busted and has completely shit the bed, it was the 32 that did it. Okay, the 32 did it. But the 6, I still have 12 of my Sweet 16 still in the tournament.
Yeah, that's what
I mean,
happens.
that's all right. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
Mhm.
it. I have the potential to win here, but my winner
Has
in
lost
this
already.
game is lost already. I had Kentucky winning it all.
Oh my God! And I love watching St. Peter's. St. Peter's is a fun team to watch. There's guys that good shooters. You know what? They go to the free throw line and they make their free throws.
Yep.
Oh my God! And they're called free throws for a reason. No one's touching you. You're standing there, and then I'm hearing guys trying to make excuses. Well, these guys are tired. Screw that. You shoot free throws in practice at the end of practice, so you're shooting them when you're tired. So they prepare yourself. We did that in grade school. I'm sure they do it in college too.
I keep on hearing everybody say that the winner of this tournament is going to be whoever has the best free throw shooters and the best guards, because that's what matters. Your big men doesn't matter. We look at you and I were watching. I mean, we see Purdue still in the tournament,
right?
And they got Edey, and he's a monster. But the entire time that me, you, and all your buddies were sitting there, we were sitting. This guy, he moves like Lurch. He doesn't move.
No,
it's all he's just big and burr. He's
Yeah.
just there. It's like
Yeah.
he doesn't score. You see it when he has the ball. He looks completely awkward with the ball. So all these big men, Kofi was definitely the most athletic in the tournament of all the big men, in my opinion. It's either him or that kid from Iowa State. I forget his name, but he was unbelievable yesterday in that game. I'd have to pull that up and look it up.
Well, you got the kid from Gonzaga who's big. He's just not a banger. Yeah. So Holmgren, Chad Holmgren and Gonzaga is still there, even though they got a scare in their first game. Very, very close first half before they blew open their game. So the NCAA tournament rolls on. It's fun. It's always fun. And I just made an executive decision that 2 weeks from today, I won't be here because that's the night of the NCAA final game.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not going to
be here either.
Yeah. I'm not going to. There'll be no show 2 weeks from tonight. I just let the guest that I had scheduled let her know that there would not be a show on that night. But let's go to football. There's a lot of baseball stuff, but football in the last 24 hours. Deshaun Watson goes to Cleveland, Matt Ryan goes to Indianapolis, and Marcus Mariota goes to Atlanta. I mean, there's quarterbacks jumping all over the place. Jameis Winston signs again after tearing his ACL. He's back in New Orleans for a 2-year deal. Amazing.
Yeah, quarterbacks are on the move right now. And the one that I was really surprised with is, I mean, obviously we know that Deshaun Watson's now going to Cleveland. I've been here. I've heard it all. I know a lot of people hate Deshaun Watson. I get it. I understand. I totally.
He's a great player, but will he be able to play?
Well, from what I'm hearing is that he's going to be suspended for the first 6 games next year. That's what's going to happen. He's going to have a guaranteed base salary per game of $1 million per game, and he has all of $253 million in that 6-year deal guaranteed. The biggest contract of any quarterback of any NFL player ever.
Yep.
That's insane.
It's very crazy.
I mean, I mean, if there's one team that can tolerate the BS that comes off of the Deshaun Watson stink, it's the Cleveland Browns, because they stink themselves for the last 25 years. All right, with quarterbacks like, I mean, come on, go down the list. Brandon Weeden and Johnny Manziel and
Tim Couch.
Tim Couch. I mean, they have stink written all over.
They've had bad quarterbacks,
but they've also had troubled players too in the past. Guys that have off the field issues. Look, they just went and signed Kareem Hunt a couple years ago. He was in trouble. I mean, we're not going to bring it up, but he was in trouble. They bring him in there, and nobody talks about that anymore.
Right.
Because he produces on the field, but everybody knows what happened.
Yeah. So they got a running game. They have a running game. They picked up Amari Cooper. Now they got Deshaun Watson. So we'll see what happens between that and the AFC West and everything you're going to see there with Devontae Adams going to the Raiders. I mean, there's going to be some great football to be played next season. We'll be talking a lot about that as we get further along. Football still doesn't start till September. But it's always on the top of the news. I watched Get Up today. The first 45 minutes of Get Up was about football. On the weekend,
NFL's king.
On the Monday, after 2 or 4 straight days of NCAA tournament action. So go figure. I mean, that's what people want, or at least that's what ESPN's giving them. Even if they wanted to watch more college basketball stuff, they're getting the NFL force-fed to them. And then, a lot of times they say, well, that's what they want. you might want it, but maybe not as heavy as they give it to you.
Right.
Not 45 minutes
I would
worth.
have loved to hear like breakdowns of each individual game today.
Or at least a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at least a lot of them. The ones that were exciting to watch, you know what I mean, or the upsets. I would have loved to hear about that, but all over Chicago terrestrial radio was nothing but NFL and baseball.
I know.
So
I know. Oh, by the way,
Williams coming back tonight.
So getting off of the, he is, and then when we find out that Lonzo Ball, they're stopping his rehab because he's not getting any better.
That's odd though, right? Like that's weird how Billy Donovan put that.
Yeah,
there's no setback, but he's just not getting any better.
Right, he's not progressing.
I mean, that could be a very, and I don't want to throw any speculation out there or anything like that, but that could mean something bigger than what everybody's seeing. You know, I under like it could mean it could mean something more serious than what an ACL or MCL would be if it's not healing properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be something really drastic and really tragic. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, that's not the case. But I just found that really odd that how he put it. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody's their own person. You've indulged pain. I've had a bunch of pain in my life. You know, everybody tolerates it a little bit differently. But man, I hope he comes back soon because the Bulls could really use him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They could use some
more of Ayo then.
Yeah, well, they could use some of his defense. Ayo's a good defensive player, but they need even more. Right. Baseball, talk about busy. Did you shed a tear when KB signed big money to go to Colorado?
No, it made no sense to me, honestly.
No, that's neither.
I mean, you give up. I understand that Nolan Arenado was commanding and demanding much more money than Chris Bryant is on the field. I understand that. I mean, with all the gold gloves and 30 homers a year, the 90 to 100 RBIs, I get that. And definitely the higher average, I would think so anyways. But I don't know. That just makes no sense to me. You don't pay Nolan Arenado, who's, I mean, honestly, the best third baseman in all of baseball, in my opinion.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
But then you go out and pay that money to Chris Bryant. It was the almost same contract. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
it made no sense. It made no sense to me. But a lot of other moves, though, man. A lot of other moves.
Yeah, well, Castellanos going to Philadelphia. Now I know they announced Schwarber earlier today, so they got Schwarber, they got Castellanos. They picked up 3 guys in the bullpen, 3 pitchers in the bullpen to be thrown to them.
Bryce Harper, that team's going to thump.
Yeah, and they picked up some bullpen help, which they're going to need because their pitchers they struggled last year. So you got Castellanos at Philly. Then Correa goes to Minnesota, and I'm getting a little fed up with White Sox fans because it's like, well, you know, the White Sox could have done this. They would have done, you know, the White Sox have a shortstop. They're happy with their shortstop. They're not going to pay big money for Correa. I understand that he can get out after 1 year. Do you want to pay a guy $33 million and have him walk away in 1 year? No.
You want a World Series?
There's no guarantee.
You want a World Series, but would he not be statistically better than Josh Harrison?
Sure, but who are you going to play at second base? You're not moving Tim Anderson to second. No, he's never played there. He's never played there.
He's an athlete. He's one of the best. Of all the people on the White Sox team, I would say that Tim Anderson is the best athlete on that team.
It took him forever to figure out how to field balls at shortstop. He'd side saddle everything. Now you're going to change positions with him right after he's figured things out? No, you can't do it. And then you move Moncada back to second base. I don't know. Moncada's a hell of a guy nailing the ball at third. He struggled with his throws a little bit, but there was no way Correa was ever coming here. They weren't going after him. I had no problem with that. Trevor Story to Boston. We'll see what Trevor Story does. We'll see what Trevor Story does away from Coors Field because his numbers show that he doesn't hit away from Coors Field.
His splits are rough.
Yeah.
His splits are real rough.
Right. So why do you want to do that? That didn't make any sense to me. But the spring training games continue. My sister had a chance to go to one game on Saturday. Sox lost 11-2. But she had good seats. So that's, that was, I guess, all that mattered. Before we take a break, I want to talk about, because we banged on them really hard for the first 2 weeks. The Chicago Fire have scored some goals, and they've actually won 2 games in a row.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. So now they have not lost a game. They've got 4 games, 2 wins, 2 ties. They're second place in the Eastern Conference. Now, that's not expected to continue, but you know what? It was nice to see them win. But their first home game, they draw more than 25,000. Their second home game, 9,000. So, yeah, and I'm sorry, and I will stick to this. if they would have stayed where they were at Toyota Park in Bridgeview, they would have got more than a 9,000 for the second game of the season for a team that hadn't lost yet. But in my opinion, it's tough going down to Soldier Field.
Right.
And, we'll see how much.
And it relates also to, the Bears thing too. Soldier Field.
Yes.
Soldier Field is seriously, I hate going to Soldier Field. The parking is a mess. It's not a fun time to go down there. It's not. It's miserable getting in and out of there.
It's very difficult. Very, very difficult going down there and getting in and out. So, the Fire play again. They may have a week off. I don't know. I didn't check their schedule yet this week. But, they won 3-1 the other day. That was nice. They've only given up 1 goal in 4 games. That's pretty good. They had signed a guy to play in the back line, Chihos, and he's a German guy, played in Cologne. He played at Cologne in Germany. And so that's nice. They're keeping the ball out of the net. And in all sports, that's the key.
Right.
Marc-Andre Fleury, we knew him for a little bit for the Blackhawks. Now he's gone. Right. Yeah, goodbye.
That pick has the potential to be a first-round pick, though.
Yeah, well, you know what? And Kyle Davidson with the Blackhawks just trying to make moves because it is definitely a rebuild. We'll see what happens as they made a couple of moves today. Before,
by the way, guys, Chicago Fire, not a sponsor yet of the Fred Huber and 1252 show. It's not there yet. Not a sponsor yet. We're going to work on it.
No, well, that's why they only get a little bit of talk. That's why we only mention them once in a while. Yeah, we can recap them. My brother Timmy, who if he's watching, he's very happy with that. So we only talk about them. He like he said, like some people in golf, Timmy in soccer, they fall asleep very quickly.
Right.
So we're gonna take a break. Hear from some of our sponsors. Mike, appreciate it. We will talk to you again as we always do. We come back. We're gonna have a lot of fun talking to a couple of brothers from Cicero who made their way just by reading the local newspaper, the Cicero Life, which I used to do back in the day. And we'll talk a lot about that. We come back. But first, a few words from our sponsors, and I get a chance to drink more of this Hailstorm Irish Red.
Thanks for having me, Fred.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the FatMike ChicagoSports Show, as well as the 1252 brand, because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend, or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
Megaplex Sports Complex is a 78,000 square foot center filled with hardwood and turf. They have baseball rentals with batting cages, softball, soccer, lacrosse, gymnastics, cheerleading, cornhole, basketball, volleyball, and pickleball. It also features a bar and grill with the best pizza and beef sandwiches around. They cater to events such as birthdays, graduations, corporate parties, as well as memorabilia shows. Check them out at Megaplex Sports Complex, 15301 South Bell Road in Homer Glen, 708-966-4210.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
Welcome back, Huebs Views and Brews here on 1252 Network, and this is the book. It's called The Twins: A Journey of a Lifetime, and here are the twins, Tony and Carl Ruzicka. Guys, how you doing tonight?
Great. Yeah, thank you.
2 guys from Cicero, and I love talking to anybody from Cicero. I've had people come up to me over the years when I was on the radio, and they'd come by just to say, hey, I'm a big Cicero guy. It's nice to see you. Someone's actually done some things from Cicero. Well, hell, you guys preceded me by several years, but your story is amazing, and you guys put a book out, and we'll tell people how to get the book and everything. But the Cicero life is something that probably, if it's even around anymore, it might have been the suburban life or something else now. But the Cicero life, they used to do something when you guys were young, and you guys took advantage of it. Why don't you guys tell us about how you guys took the first step in the career you guys ended up having?
All right. Well, Tony here. So I think it was 1960. Cicero Life came out, and in the sports page, they had a picture of a Chicago Bear football player like this, and Bill Bishop, Cicero resident, and we did something novel. We took out the phone book and looked up Bill Bishop, and there he was, 1842, 61st Avenue. We rode our bikes to his house, rang the doorbell. His wife, Marilyn, answered. Does Bill Bishop live here? Yes, he does. Who plays for the Bears? Yes. Because I asked who's calling, Tony and Carl Ruzicka. I'm right in. And Bill Bishop was really very, very kind. Took us downstairs and showed us the scrapbook. This was on a Thursday. On Saturday, he said, on Saturday, I've got a barbecue, and a lot of people are going to be here. If you want to come get some autographs. So we came, and we met George Blanda and Willie Gallimore and Ed Brown and a host of others. And we just became friends. We would just ride our bikes over there and wait for him to come home and drive up, and we'd visit him. And he became the first defensive captain for the Minnesota Vikings in the first dispersal draft. But his wife, Marilyn, says, you guys love football so much, why don't you write to George Halas? See if you can be ball boys. So we wrote to George Halas, and we got a letter. We were in 7th grade. We got a letter back saying, thank you for your interest. The job's taken. Stay on the Golden Honor Roll and write me back. We wrote them back when we were in 8th grade, and we got a letter back saying, welcome to the Bears, basically. So
that's awesome.
Clubhouse boys for the Bears, 1963 through 66, our years of high school.
How did you guys follow as kids that young, 10, 11? How did you follow Bears football? Well, I mean, it's not like it is now. Not all the games on TV. Were you listening to the radio all the time?
Yeah, we would listen to the radio. We have a older brother. Tom's 5 years older than us. So we're going to be 73 in May. So he'll be 78 next month. And he was a big sport fan, and we had some uncles that were sport fans. So we started following at a very early age. So we didn't follow football very closely until we met Bill Bishop.
Okay.
All right. And then, one story we have in the book, we would, and now he's at the tail end of his career. And we would take a sheet of paper on game day that would be on television or even on radio if you could hear his name. But we would have number 73, Bill Bishop, West Texas State, Bears versus Green Bay Packers.
Sure.
And then we'd have a column for tackles and a column for assists. All right. And he was at the tail end of his career. So if we saw him on the TV screen or if he got any kind of mention, we put it down.
Sure.
And
Yeah, give him some credit.
We laugh to each other. So,
Yeah.
But
And then, when he played for the Vikings, we somehow lucked into tickets to the Bears Viking game. And I don't know if you remember in Wrigley Field, the visitors clubhouse, you'd walk down the stairs past
Right.
the open gate and you could put your program in and get autographs. Bill Bishop says, I got something for you. I'll be home in about 3 days. So we got an autographed football by the original Minnesota Vikings.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
In the 25-year anniversary of the championship of 1963, when we started working there,
right,
the Bears had an outing, and we went, and they handed out Hallis by Hallis, his autobiography. And basically he talks there about how growing up in Pilsen, and he would go to the old Cubs park on 18th and Polk and wait outside for his favorite players to come out or come in and say, can I go in with you today? Can I get your autograph? And that's basically what we did before. We would wait outside at the firehouse on Waveland and see everybody. And then because of our connection with Marilyn and Bill, we got the job with the Bears.
What was it like when you guys first had a chance to meet George Hallis? Because I know the first year you guys wrote the letter, and he sent you a letter back and said that they already had their ball boys, but keep the grades up. And you guys were good in school anyway, from what you tell me. But you kept the grades up, and then you got back to him the following year. What was it like the first time you met George Hallis?
I can't say that we were intimidated because we sort of always try to get along with everybody and not be too in awe.
Sure.
So the first time that we met him, we just introduced ourselves, and he called us by the correct pronunciation in Czech Republic, Ruzicka twins.
Okay.
And, that sort of melted the ice. So Tony's job during the 4 years was to follow the line of scrimmage with the extra footballs. And I'm guessing that around 50% of the time, Tony was kneeling, and George Hallis was kneeling alongside of him, resting his arm on Tony's shoulder. So, how many people can say that about the founding father of football?
Yeah, that's amazing. And talk a little bit about, because we hear clubhouse boys, and a lot of people that are watching sports nowadays, they see these clubhouses and they're big, huge, spacious things. I had been in the Cubs clubhouse before, which was down the left field line. Talk a little bit about what you two guys did as clubhouse boys at Soldier Field.
Yeah, you're the one, the clubhouse you were in was probably not the clubhouse that we were in.
Sure.
Yeah, we were in Wrigley Field, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So describe.
Yeah, but talk about how small that was.
Yeah. So basically, right now it's used by the Cubs ground crew. So you can imagine you had 40 players plus 2 or 3 on a taxi squad, and the stands go down towards the field. So that's probably why we got the job, and why Yosh got the job with the Cubs, is we could go in there without hitting our heads. But basically, we would provide all the equipment for them. We set up their lockers with their helmets and jock straps and jerseys and pants, etc. And we would clean their shoes, polish the shoes. After practice, we would clean the floor, get all their laundry, and take it to George Hallis had a laundry, believe it or not.
Okay. Well, he didn't want to give anybody else the money.
No, the White Bear Laundry down on Clark Street. So we would take it there, and then we would pick up the laundry and set up their lockers for the game. And say during the game, my job was to have the extra football there.
Right.
So you talk about deflate gate. Well, that was my job. Carl and I, we would inflate the footballs before the game, 13 pounds per square inch. And referees would come and they would spot test the balls. And that's the only time that they were ever tested. So no one kept track. Did I go in and get other balls or this or that? I didn't do it, but there was no real control over it.
Well, and also you guys, I think it was you, Tony, that you cleaned the spikes, but there was one guy that didn't like you to clean the spikes, right?
That was me. That's
okay,
Carl. So we tell the story in the book that Gale Sayers' rookie year, when he scored the 6 touchdowns, it was a muddy field, a rainy day against the 49ers. My job in any day, in particular in bad weather games, I'd have to scrape the mud off of the spikes. And, I was instructed to do the skilled players first. If you have time, do the linemen.
Sure.
And Gale Sayers waved me off 100% of the time. He was the only guy who I did not clean the spikes. And we have in the book 6 touchdowns. Tony was the first one. We're at that time we were 5'5", and now we're steadily shrinking. All right. After 6 touchdowns, Tony was the first one to give Gale a low 5.
Sure.
And he could have scored a 7 touchdown. He was taken out on the 1st and goal on the 1-yard line. And George Halas told the media that he didn't want him to get hurt. We suspect that the record was held by Ernie Nevers, who was a contemporary of George Halas, and he didn't want to see the record broken.
Sure.
That was held in awe by all of the other Bears.
Yeah, that could have made sense. I was talking with you guys the other day. It was nice you stopped by and saw me on Friday out at Game On, and you were telling me a great story about Mike Ditka, because Ditka played for the Bears, and when you see a lot of the highlights from Gale Sayers in his rookie year, you see Ditka trying to block for him, but he's usually falling down as he's trying to keep up with him. You see him a lot of times doing that. But when Ditka then left here, but you guys ran into Ditka after he left, and you guys gave him some advice that maybe paid off, didn't you?
Well, and we also, I'll let Tony speak about giving the advice to George Halas, but I saw him. He was the coach with the Cowboys, and I was walking by myself on a Saturday evening before the Bears-Cowboys game. Now I think is at Soldiers Field already. And I saw him outside the old executive house. And I thought I'd talk to him for 5 minutes. I ended up talking to him for about an hour. He was very sad, very forlorn. And he'd like to get back to the Bears. So I said, Mike, Tony and I wrote a letter to George Halas, ask him if we could be part of the Bears. Why don't you do the same thing? And quite honestly, never gave it another thought.
Sure.
But when they had a special on ESPN about Mike Ditka, and his wife mentioned, he wanted to really get back to the Bears, and he wrote George Halas a letter. So, could be that
could be
my direct advice. But
So Mike Ditka was one of the very few people that would stand up to George Halas during a game. He'd get upset. You're not using me correctly. We should be doing this. Why are we doing that? Come on, use me. Come on. And he'd always be upset with George Halas. Well, then it was between him and George Allen who was going to become the next coach. And we called George Halas also at home.
Okay.
We said, Coach, Mike Ditka is the guy you want. He's the one that had the courage to stand up to you. He's the kind of person you want to be the head coach of the Bears. And we went to the 50-year reunion, 2013, and people are asking us all the time, where's your brother? Where's your brother? We got to get you guys together. Well, we ended up going on Inside the Bears. We talked about this just sort of free forming, and the Bears produced the show Inside the Bears, and in that Inside the Bears, they showed George Halas introducing Mike Ditka as the head coach. So the Bears effectively also gave us credit for George Halas hiring Mike Ditka.
That's great. Absolutely great. Now we're talking to you two guys, and growing up in Cicero, that's where I grew up from the time I was in third grade, heck, till I got married. So I was there from really young. Played at Goodwin School. I know you two guys went to Goodwin School in seventh and eighth grade. But we're talking about Bears and the Bears that lived in Cicero. But it turns out there's another sports team in town that a lot of players lived in Cicero, and that was the Blackhawks.
Yeah, so I'll start that one off.
Berwyn. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Berwyn. But Bill Bishop was in the 1960 Cicero life. 1962 in the Cicero life, we open up. There's a picture of Pierre Palat, Hall of Fame defenseman. He was captain of the Blackhawks at the time. Pierre Palat, Berwyn resident. So we did the same thing. We looked in the phone book, and this was a P. Palat, 2813 South Ridgeland. It's
Okay.
him. So we did the same thing. We walked to his house and rang the doorbell, and he invited us in. We got autographs, and just like with Bill Bishop inviting us to a barbecue to meet other players, Pierre Palat goes, "Yeah, you guys really love the Blackhawks so much. Would you want to meet Glenn Hall?" Yeah, Mr. Goalie, of course. So he said, "Well, let me call him because he takes a nap before the games. So let me make sure he's still up." And he called Glenn Hall, and Glenn Hall says, "Yeah, have him come by." Well, he was at 3212 South Gunderson. And from Glenn Hall led us to Stan Mikita and Bobby Hull. They lived together on Winona Avenue.
Okay.
And one thing led to another. Our greatest friend, we had until he passed away, was the right wing Chico Mackey. He lived at 3622 South Elmwood.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I don't think. I mean, some of them probably still live there when I was around, because that was. Let's see, I was there in the '60s, mid '60s, early, late '60s. So I'm sure some of them were still living in the area. But like you said, Chico Mackey was one of your. I mean, you guys you throw the football around, you do other stuff, but Chico didn't want to throw the football around. He had to throw it around with another guy, didn't he?
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, well, we went to his house one time. We had the football, and he had visitors there: Phil Esposito and Murray Hall and Dennis DeJordy. And the three of them says, "Hey, let's go play football." So we went to 28th and East, and Carl and I stood the three of them in a game of touch football, and we beat them. So how many people can say they played touch football with Phil Esposito? And the other best thing about Chico Mackey, he would call us up maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I've got extra tickets for the game tonight if your mother said it's okay.
Uh-huh.
So we'd ask our mom, "Yeah, it's okay." Chico Mackey would pick us up at our house, take us to the game. We'd wait for him afterwards. He'd sign autographs, etc., and then he'd drive us home.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We got home in enough time to see the highlights on the 10 o'clock news. Now the game is not over until after that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, you guys lived every kid's dream, getting a chance to.
I want to tell you just one other quick story.
Yeah.
Chico Mackey, one time his mom was in town. The only time we really met his mom. So we went to the game with his mom and his wife at the time, Nancy. All right. And Chico got into a fight with Doug Barkley, big defenseman for the Red Wings. So we're waiting after the game. We're thinking, oh, my God, his mother's going to be mad at him. He got in a fight. All right. And he comes out and his mother goes, "I've never been so proud of you, Chico."
That's amazing. That's great. I mean, the number of stories you guys have, we're all going to be able to touch on a few of them here, but the book is great. And people can get the book at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Again, it's called The Twins, A Journey of a Lifetime. And also at Ruzicka Twins, RUZICKA Twins.com. You can pick up the book there. Now, but a lot of the people that I know, we all knew this guy because when I was covering Cubs games, if we got in someone's way, their little clubhouse guy would say, "Hey, move, get out of the way." And that was Yosh Kawano. Now, you guys talked about you were 5'5". Yosh was not that tall, was he?
He was a maybe 5'1".
But you guys got to know him really, really well. And what you told me, there's a whole chapter in the book pretty much about how he lived with you guys basically until he passed.
Right. So first of all, we met him the first day that we worked for the Bears.
Okay.
Because we were moving in Bears equipment when he was packing up Cubs equipment. And he said, "Hey, twin, move this box." Yes, sir, Mr. Kawano.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, we retained the friendship, and to us, he was a wonderful friend.
Sure.
And, the 6 degrees of separation with whoever the actor is, I forget that, but
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. With Yosh, you go like 1 or 2 degrees of separation. Yosh knew Joe DiMaggio, who knew Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
We know Yosh, go right to Frank Sinatra, and so he knew everybody. And he was crusty in the clubhouse, but I guess
he was.
Because we were clubhouse boys at one time. I guess we were part of his club. So it was very fortunate.
Yeah. And he was a great guy. I know that all the Cubs players forever, always Cubs players loved him because he was the guy that made sure they had everything when they needed it. Whatever it was, they had it. Yeah. That was great.
We would we tell one story. It's not in the book, but I don't know if you remember, Cubs had a third string catcher, Chris Cannizzaro. Yep. He used to play with the Mets, and some of the players' kids were in the clubhouse, including Chris Cannizzaro's son. And this when the clubhouse was in the corner, you come out the door there in the near the left field corner.
Right.
And Leo DeRocher is making his way out the door onto the field, and Chris Cannizzaro's son says, Mr. DeRocher, is my daddy going to play today? And Leo DeRocher said, "No, son, we're trying to win."
Very real nice. Sounds like Leo.
Yosh said that all the players would look at each other and they'd say, "We're trying to win."
Yeah. I want to talk about other Cub stuff, but before I do that, you guys, 2 guys from Cicero, 5'5" guys, you were good athletes, but you figure 5'5", you're not going to be playing a lot of basketball, maybe. But you guys ran track, and your coach was a guy that I knew because he was the basketball coach when I was at Morton East. He had me run the video cameras, and that's Don Hudgens.
Right.
And talk about, you guys ran track. He was the track coach at Morton East at the time?
Cross-country coach.
Okay.
So, believe it or not, our most skilled sport was football. And we were heavily recruited by Bill Vohaska, was the varsity football coach at Morton East. And we got the job with the Bears. It conflicted to the Saturday football games. So we couldn't go out for football. So instead we went out for track and then went out for cross country with Coach Hudgens. And because we ran with Coach Hudgens, he suggested that we interview at Yale to go to school. We wouldn't have thought about that in a billion years. And he suggested that we interview, and we did, and we both ended up at Yale. Very fortunate. But the part of the book at the end when we summarize it is none of it would have happened unless we rang that doorbell to Bill Bishop. So
yeah.
It's like serendipitous journey.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. But the people that are watching now, and they're Cub fans over the last several years, and they've seen the World Series, and they've seen Chris Bryant and things like that. You were telling me stories that you guys are still active. You knew Chris Bryant's dad, Kyle Hendricks' father, and things like that, and sports. It's not like you guys are just old guys hanging around watching, and you were telling me about some of the tips you have maybe gave to their fathers, and next thing you know, their kids are doing well.
Yeah, well, these are true stories, believe it or not. So it was, I think, 2015 in July. Chris Bryant had a terrible July. He swung and missed more than anyone in the majors. And then they had an extra inning game against the Rockies, and he hit a home run to win. So we're friends with John Hendricks, Kyle's father. So we're waiting for Kyle to come out. And I see Mike Bryant, and I ask, what do you do for a living? He said, well, I'm in chemicals, but my real job, I'm a batting coach. I go, really? You might want to talk to your son. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, your son has a habit of dipping his right shoulder and falling over the plate. His weight's going this way, his eyes are going this way, swing is going that way. And, he goes, you're right. All right. So they beat the Cardinals in the preliminary round of the playoffs.
Yep.
And Mike Bryant sees me and he comes to me and he says, I want to thank you for helping out Chris. All right. The next year, 2016. After that, 2016, he did phenomenal. 2018, we changed our seats from the third row to behind the Cub dugout. We were now in the first row of the grandstand where we actually could see people.
Right.
And Mike Ryan walks by with his wife. He goes, oh, my God, dear, please come here. This is the guy that helped Chris with his swing.
That's great. That's great.
Javi Baez about we told a story about we told Bill Miller was his first hitting coach. We would tell Bill Miller, tell Javi to think there's a beautiful woman behind the pitcher. Would you rather look at that woman or look at Carl and I in the third row behind the dugout? But we see Javi after the game and going to his car. And Javi, I talk to you. He goes, what? I said, you swing, you turn around, you look at, you're not focusing on the pitcher.
Right.
And he's got a friend that slaps him. Javi, listen, that's exactly what you do. But then he had the oral surgery, so he got the helmet with the guard on it. And I see him in the parking lot. I said, listen, it's none of my business per se, but if I were you, I'd keep that helmet because it helps provide some degree of cushion from you snapping your head. Well,
sure.
The helmet.
We had a couple others too, but I will have to say that we were on the edge of at any moment we would outwear our welcome. We weren't really supposed to be there, even though we were with John Hendricks. So,
right.
We tell our friends that we stopped waiting for Kyle because one of the times it was going to happen that one of the players would say, "What the F you telling me about? Get out of here!" Right?
Sure.
We stopped going, and we always say, the Cubs were terrible hitting wise in 18, 19, and 20. We tell our friends that we stopped hanging around after the games.
It got to be difficult.
Now with the cell phones, we take video of Jason Hayward's swing.
Wow.
Show how he would come forward first and then go back. Someone's throwing him a fastball. How can you go forward and then go back? Yeah. Kyle Schwarber were doing the same thing. We showed a hitting coach. What are you doing here? How could someone hit a fastball if they're going this way and then going that way? And we decided, okay, enough's enough.
Fred, we've had season tickets since 1976 through 2019. All right. All those years except for one, the third row behind the dugout, but we're not baseball people. You know what I mean? So you're not not a baseball people. You really don't know what you're talking about.
I know. We hear that a lot in the media. We hear that a lot too. Every once in a while you hear someone say, well, you didn't play the game, and we didn't play the game at your level maybe, but there's other times people know that. Most golf coaches, all the top golfers have a coach who's not nearly as good as they are, but
Right.
they played the game right.
Right.
Yeah, it's
We
crazy.
could hit the ball playing swift pitch at Wilson.
There you go. Yeah.
None of them could do it.
So for those people who want the book, I mean, it's got so many great stories. This is just a few of them. And these drawings are drawings that you guys did, right? The drawing of Ditka and
We were
Chico
in
Mackey.
grade school.
Yeah.
Maybe freshman in high school.
The Bobby Hull's a great, absolutely wonderful drawing.
Yeah.
And it's got Bobby with hair, so that's
Yeah.
even better.
He was the Golden Jet at one time. So the
Yes.
other thing wonderful with Chico Mackey is that every so often they say, "Hey, stop by the house. I got something for you." So we had the original curved bladed sticks.
Oh my God.
Bobby Hull, Stan Makita. Unfortunately, we have none of them because we used to play in the alley and whittle the sticks down.
Sure. I did too.
Yeah.
I played there all the time. Yeah. It was fun.
He shoots
Well, guys.
scores.
Yeah. Carl and Tony, you guys have lived an absolutely great life. There's so much in the book that people can grab. Again, you can get it at Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, or also Ruzicka Twins. That's RUZICKA Twins.com. And it's great having you guys on, and we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
Can I just add like one little sentence to it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about is our friendship with Frank Shorter, who won the Olympic marathon gold medal in 1972.
Sure.
He was a Yale classmate. We're still very, very close friends. Through Frank, we got connected with Chicago Marathon. We were two of the founders of the Chicago Marathon. We were instrumental in runners being able to be compensated. We were instrumental in running for philanthropy, instrumental in having the Chicago Marathon actually convince the city how valuable they were.
Right.
The economics they were bringing to the city. So
Yeah.
rather than begging for crumbs, let's ask for something.
Sure. No. And it is a huge event, and I know that they do an awesome job running it. And I know they just had a race. They just had one of their Shamrock Shuffles, I think, this last week. Yeah, this last weekend.
I had a Shamrock Shake.
Yeah. And I'm drinking an Irish beer, so we're all in good shape.
All
Tony
right.
and Carl, thanks a lot. It's been
Thanks
great.
for having us.
It's been wonderful. A lot of great stories. And like I said, anybody that picks up the book, you're going to find a lot more stories. We just touched it because it's a wonderful book. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Good luck. Carl and Tony Ruzicka, and they have just amazing, amazing stories. They told me stories about Kyle Hendricks and him falling off the mound, and they would talk to him about straightening up his delivery and things like that. And I can understand, though. After a while, it gets to a point where, I told them the story the other day when I was covering games back in the 80s. Tom Paciorek was playing for the White Sox, and he squatted down a little bit. Always did. But he was popping the ball up, and I noticed he was squatting down a little bit more than usual. So after the game one day, after all the reporters went away from him, I said, Tom, I don't know if, I know I'm not, your hitting coach or anything, but I've noticed you've been squatting a little bit lower than usual, and it seems you've been popping up a lot in the last week or so. And he looks at me, and I thought he was going to yell or be pissed off, and he said, yeah, we noticed that too. He said, we're working on it. We'll see what we can do. And next couple of days, standing up a little bit straighter, boom, hitting the ball. And Paciorek was always fun to watch. I never want to bring it up to him because sometimes maybe at this point he may not want to say that it actually happened, but I know it did. So, I've got that going for me. I know Mike's going to be disappointed. I don't have a What's Up Fred's can. After talking to the Ruzicka brothers, I can't be upset about anything. I'm a happy guy. Couple beer notes. We're going to have Ricky Cervantes on here from Foreign Exchange Brewing. Now, Ricky's been working his tail off. I've been trying to get him on for a couple of weeks. I saw him at the Westmont Winter Beer Fest. He had a mango habanero beer, which was like one of my favorite beers at the beer fest. Absolutely wonderful. He's got a beer going out now called Between Two Parallels. It's a stout with Madagascar vanilla, Tahitian vanilla, and marshmallow. No, I think I got that right. And I can't wait to try it. And Ricky said he wants to get together so I can have a couple of these beers when I'm talking to him next week. There was a benefit going on tonight at Eris Cider up on the north side. They're benefiting Twisted Hippo. the brewery and restaurant that burned down a while back in Albany Park. So a lot of people were at that bar. 40 breweries there donating their beer. It was $70 or $75, I think, for a ticket, and a way to help the people at Twisted Hippo, not only the people that worked there, or not only the people that owned the place, but also the people that worked there, and people that were losing compensation for not being able to work after the fire in Albany Park. And the Lincoln Park Zoo has got a beer fest coming up, April 30th. Drinks at Lincoln Park Zoo. I know Brookfield Zoo has one. Everybody realizes that this stuff brings people in. This foamy stuff brings people in. Brought a lot of people into Game On the other day. It was nice to see some people. Nice to see a lot of friends. I stopped at Nick and Ivy and saw Paul yesterday. Linda and I stopped there. She had her 1853, and I had a malted milk ball stout, I think it was. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I know it had malted milk balls, I think, in it. And it was wonderful. So as I finish this Southside Irish Red, we'll be back next week. Ricky Cervantes talking from Foreign Exchange Brewing. Got a lot more college basketball coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Baseball, who knows what's going to happen with football players and on the move and things like that. And again, our condolences to David Schuster on the passing of his mother. Been having this beer in her honor throughout the course of the night. And David, we're all thinking about you, and stay strong. His mother lived a wonderful life, 95 years old. I'll be 65 in May. I can only hope I can get to that point, 95. Linda might not hope I get that far, but I hope I get that far. So until next week, don't forget you can catch us on Twitch. If you miss a show, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify with the audio. I did that the other day. It sounds great, crystal clear on Spotify. You can drive around in the car and listen to the shows. Don't forget, we got Mike coming up, usually on Wednesdays. Also, we got Harry. So many great shows on 1252. If you go to YouTube or Spotify and you just search 1252 Sports or 1252 Entertainment, they'll run down all the shows and basically a list and all of the shows that have been on. So you may want to check them all out. And thanks a lot for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful Monday night, a great week, and we'll talk with you guys next week here on Huebs Views and Brews.
Thank you for listening to 1252 Sports Chicago.